The owl is a creature that many wouldn't view as threatening. With its pleasant features and small size, many view it as a cute animal. But yet, when hungry or provoked, the owl has a sharp beak and razor-sharp claws that could do serious damage. Same can be said for the Colonial girls soccer team. Many thought they were small and not talented, but yet when provoked, they ended up being one of the best teams in the SOL American in the 2019 season.
In seasons leading up to this one, we were never like a good team. Like, we had good kids, but we never like focused enough to win. We always just kind of floated like in the middle of the league standings, and other teams just saw that as we were that team that would like put up a fight, but we were never actually a threat to them. Like, they knew they'd come out winning, and that went for the past 3 years. So I think going into this season, they all thought the same thing of us. They thought that we were just gonna be the same team we always were, and we weren't gonna actually win anything and be on the top of the league. And I think that even carried into the season for a lot of these teams. They just saw us still as this team that was not good enough to win. And even as we started to beat them, they never gave us credit for our skill and the way we played. It was always just they had a bad game. They were off. They never actually gave us credit and the credit we deserved, because we just improved and we were a good team. So even through the season, and their thoughts going in and through the season, we were just this team that was like, okay, we weren't actually a threat to anybody.
The team faced a lot of adversity, but none were hit harder than goalkeeper Devin Skiles, who's coming off a complete ACL and meniscus tear that hampered her offseason.
I had something to prove going back into this season. To my coaches, to my doctors, to my parents, but most importantly myself. That I wasn't coming back too early and that I was ready to go back to my team. It was a risk going back 2 months before the recommended time frame of 8 to 10 months, but I was ready, and I was ready to prove that too.
So our first in-league game, we played Wiss. We lost 2-0. We played well. We couldn't prevent them from putting goals in. We couldn't get our own in. So I think after that game, we kind of, we felt down. We didn't want to lose our first game. Then we played Shellingham and Springfield, and we beat both of those teams. We always beat those teams. And that felt good. It lifted our spirits back up. After those 3 games, we played Abington, and that was supposed to be a night game. We ended up losing 3-1. We were up 1.5, and then we lost it. So I think after those 4 games, we were fearful that we were the same team we always were. We beat the bad teams. We couldn't beat the teams that were good. And I think what would happen in past seasons is we would just give up at that point. This year was different, that we thought we knew we were better than that. And we worked hard, and we practiced better, and we ended up beating those teams next time we played them. And I think that losing those 2 games in this season was good for us, because we knew we could hang in there with them, and we came back better, and we didn't let them beat us next time.
I think it really started to click for us right before we played Abington for the first time. Before that, we had a long preseason, and with the first game lost to West, we weren't really in the best mindset. And on that rainy bus ride to Abington and in the locker room, we connected. I really don't know how else to explain it, but we bonded more that day, and then we all started to come together and actually really work as a team.
So the first time we played Wiss this season, it was the second day of school. I actually wasn't even at practice the day before. I was in the hospital. I had kidney stones. So for that game, for me, I didn't play good. And I knew I could play better than what I did. So my mindset going into the Wiss game the second time we played them was revenge. I knew I could play better. I knew I wanted to win. So that game for me was this revenge game, and I wanted to show that I was a better player than what I had done in the past game. And I think that was the same for everybody. We all knew we were better, and we had all gotten better at this point in the season. We were halfway through. So everybody had this idea in their head that we're not going to lose. We're not going to do that again, because we're better than that. And so we ended up we showed them that we were the better team. We didn't let them score. We put in our own goal. And our mindset was just, we have to win.
West definitely had a strong offense. This was our second time playing them, and it was obvious that both teams had really prepared for this game. They knew our plays, and we knew theirs. Once we really started to pick up intensity towards the middle of the first half, I really started to realize how close this game would become. We're both rivals, and none of us were willing to lose without a fight.
On Thursday, September 26th, under an overcast sky, the Colonials and the Trojans were to face off. Both teams were 7-3 and tied for second place in the SOL American. This game would ultimately decide the fate of their seasons and was huge in playoff bracketing implications. The Colonials and Trojans had faced off a couple weeks prior, and the Colonials were looking for some revenge. The manner it happened was something none of us would expect. The Trojans would get the first shot on net, but come on, with Devin Skiles, you need to do a little bit better.
In the first game, their defense plays back and centrally, so we couldn't get the ball to Max. We couldn't find her. We couldn't find any of our central players who are our top goal scorers. And we couldn't find them. We couldn't get opportunities. In the first game, we had trouble with adjusting to this, so we didn't end up putting any in. In the second game, we changed up the strategy a little bit. We started getting the ball out wide to me and Berman, working it up and then working it back into the middle. It gave us more opportunities, but their defense was just still so good, we couldn't get the ball into the net. So even though we managed to switch up our strategy, their defense still kept us from scoring.
The Colonials needed to get on their feet offensively. Senior Ani Shula would waste no time in doing so and taking the ball down the field. The Colonials were trying to establish their passing game, but the swarming defense of the Trojans was still overwhelming at this early portion of the match. There is an old saying amongst goalkeepers that the posts are a goalie's best friend. Devin Skiles lived these very words as Wissahickon would rip a shot that just went wide. Again, it seemed that luck was on the Colonial side. As the game progressed, so did the intensity and physicality. Fiona Gunaratne perfectly shows it with her play on the ball right there. Mackenzie Lazinski led the team in goals and was trying to establish herself offensively. The Colonials would typically send the ball the length of the field, and she would chase it down and score many goals. Unfortunately, Wissahickon knew this and would quickly flag her down and make passing it to her quite hard. Again, we see here the Colonials have a chance on offense. Max would try to get open, but again, Wissahickon would be right there with two defenders sending the ball the length of the field. As the half started to wind down, the Colonials started to show their dominance on the offensive side of things. Mackenzie Lazinski would get her chance here on this play. She's being closely followed, but she'd set up a nice pass for Fiona Gunaratne, who would just slightly sail the ball. Sam said she wanted some revenge in this game, and you could definitely tell she is playing with an added intensity going down the sides of the field. The clocks would hit 0 on the half, and it was still 0-0. Both teams knew that they needed adjustments, but ultimately the biggest goal was trying to add that point onto the scoreboard. The weather also started to regress as we saw the clouds rolling in for what looked like an impending thunderstorm. As the rain started to pick up, so did the Colonials' passing game. They started to establish their lanes and move the ball effectively. They would almost have an opportunity here to get a shot on net, but Wissahickon just wouldn't budge. Wissahickon would get a shot on net shortly after, but again, Devin Skiles had other thoughts about allowing that one behind her.
Honestly, the game was such a blur that I can't really pinpoint a certain play that I'm really proud of, but I definitely think the second half was much better for me and for the rest of our team. I think we were more focused and frankly, I really did not want this game to go into overtime. I knew that we had what it took to win, but I realized how close this game was, and nearing the end of the second half, I was like, we just can't lose no matter what. I did not want to give them any more momentum than they already had, and going into overtime was probably what would make the game a toss-up.
Wiss would be able to generate a free kick, but again, Devin was right there waiting for it. The Colonials had a lot of opportunities, but so did Wissahickon, and they started to really ramp up their offense in the halfway point of the second half. Mackenzie was finally able to get her opportunity to get a shot. The Wissahickon player would overplay the ball and would allow her to get some free space. she could get a shot that could possibly end the game. But again, as fate would have it, the ball would sail wide and the score would continue to be 0-0. Playing in transition can be quite challenging. Fiona Gunaratne would have a nice opportunity, but again, the goalkeeper of Wissahickon would throw herself in front of it. Sometimes there are plays as goalie, you can just take a breath. Devin was able to get that there as that ball sailed wide over the net. Again, the clock would hit 0, and the game was still tied. With a game that was so important, the stakes were only heightened. Both Devin and Sam had very peculiar moments that they could recall before going into this insane overtime period.
I knew Ava was going to score the moment she came off the field at the end of that game. She came off with this overwhelming, aggressive, I've never seen it before in her. I've been playing with her for years, and she was in rare form that day. She came off that field we are going to win. I am not losing to them. And I was kind of stunned a little bit by her reaction. I never saw her like that before, but I trusted her. I was like, Ava, you want to finish this game? Then she's going to do it. So I was not shocked at all when she ended up scoring. And I think whether the coaches told her or not, she was going to go up into that corner kick and try to finish it off. So seeing Ava in the back of the net, I was thrilled, but not shocked.
So Ava's goal in general was just an awesome goal. But then there's this story behind it that just makes it that much better. So she wore this beast necklace, and she didn't have it on that game. She didn't have it with her. So right before we went into overtime, one of the parents, I think it was her dad, ran the necklace over to her, and she put it in her sock. And right into overtime, she scored off of a corner kick, and it was just awesome because we all gave the credit to that necklace. We were like, oh, that necklace won the game for us. But in reality, like the necklace says, she's just a beast. And it was just an awesome goal to watch, and it was an awesome way to finish that game out.
Sorry if the girls spoiled the play for you, but at least we'll be able to view it. Ani would set herself up with a nice shot that would be blocked by a Wissahickon defender. She would then pick up her own rebound and shoot the ball in front of the net. The Wissahickon goalkeeper would not be able to stop it all the way, and the ball would roll in front. Ava Shriver was waiting, and that was it. The goal that would win the game in overtime. In a game that had played out the way that it did, with the importance of it, it really showcased the season the Colonials had, and it was quite an impressive victory. Blissful and full of triumph, the Colonials would head to their bench, extremely happy after winning such a crucial game. The Colonials would later go on to go the farthest that the club had ever made it and go into the second round of the district playoffs. It was quite an impressive season where the Colonials were able to prove their doubters wrong and establish themselves as a club to be respected. With the way that this game played out and the overall performance of this team, that is what made this game a Colonial Classic.
I am just beyond proud about this season for the girls and for myself. If somebody would have told me 6 months ago that yes, it would be difficult and you'd have to get surgery and rehab in 6 months of that, but you would be able to play for a team and have a season like you did, I would have taken it threefold. I would even taken half of what we did. I am beyond proud of myself and our team, and I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing in a career for soccer to be part of a team that special. And I think this will be the highlight of my soccer career at PW. And I love those girls. And you could tell the moment we stepped up on the field that we all cared about each other and we were willing to win and lose as a team. And that camaraderie was just amazing.
Being a senior during this game and this season in general was just amazing. We finally beat our rivals. We finally beat Wiss. But for the season in general, we had a great season. We made it to the round 2 of the playoffs. We ended up losing there, but, they were the state champions, so it was fine. But we had such a successful season, an 11-game shutout streak. We only lost 4 games in the regular season, almost out of league. And showing everybody that PW is a good team and we shouldn't be taken for granted just felt great. And it felt great to be a senior part of this. It was a great way to end my soccer career. I was just so happy that I could finally be a part of something that will go down in history. And I had a great team. My teammates were great. I loved them. The coaches were great. They were constantly just changing everything up to make sure we were the best team we could be. So I'm just so thankful I had such a great team and great coaches.